that I know some of the incredible outcomes that you've driven, a la 85% of top line coming from partnerships in your programs, which is just chef's kiss.
I spent 2 years expanding the entire Asia Pacific business with no partner experience.
PRMs and portals as a concept never really gained big market traction. Less than 25% of companies that could be using one are using one.
For some of these large venture capital firms, could be hundreds of companies.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Partnerships Unlocked, where we give you a front row seat to the leaders and the tactics that they are using to build some of the top partner programs out there today. And today I'm excited to have another good friend and, again, one of the best partner leaders I've met on here to share his expertise, Joe Henderson. Joe, can you tell folks a little bit about yourself?
Thanks, Craig. Great to be here on the pod. I'm excited you finally did this. This is awesome. This is running now. So yeah, a little background about me. Currently I'm the head of partnerships at a company called Flywheel, where we help companies purchase in the marketplaces. But yeah, going back, I kind of fell backwards into partnerships back in the day. So probably I think it's almost 15 years ago now. It's dating myself, but I was just a direct seller, and I was helping out with some international sales at a company called Puppet back in the day. For those that are old enough, they probably remember when DevOps first became a big thing. It became a very popular tool. I got an inbound lead from Australia, in which case somebody wanted to sell Puppet into a bank there, and it was a partner that had called us and very urgently needed to sell. And I knew nothing about partnerships, so I had to quickly form a reseller agreement, and I sold my first partner deal. It was a very large deal, and so my boss at the time was like, "Huh, must be something going on in Australia." And obviously, we can't sell directly there, or we could, but why not if we had partners? So why don't you go to Australia and meet with this partner and see what the market is like there? So I flew there, met with him, understood the market there, signed on some more partners. There was enough business there that they actually moved my wife and myself to Australia for 2 years. So I spent 2 years expanding the entire Asia Pacific business with no partner experience. And now I had to onboard partners, distributors, consultants, resellers across Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, and Japan. And so I basically spent 2 years doing that. And I kind of got my master's degree in 2 years in partnerships, because not only did I learn like what the hell were partners, how do they work, the different types of partners, and then the cultural differences in doing that. So did 2 years there, moved back to the States, and then kind of became this hired gun of building partnerships from scratch from small startups. So seed startups to Series A or B startups that decided they wanted to explore or start a partner program. They would bring me in to design it, scale it. So I did that. I've been doing that ever since. And so I have a lot of great wins, a couple losses, and learned a lot along the way.
I love that. Well, thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that.
Yeah.
And let's jump straight into some of those wins. I mean, you and I have known each other long enough that I know some of the incredible outcomes that you've driven, a la 85% of top line coming from partnerships in your
Yeah.
programs, which is just chef's kiss.
Thanks.
But yeah, let's jump in. Like, what was one of the tactics that you used that has just consistently paid dividends for you? Um, why has it worked, and what have you learned from it?
Yeah. One of the thing that stays out, and I was kind of kicking myself that I hadn't done it earlier. So, like I mentioned, I worked at Puppet for many years. I was in DevOps, and that kind of morphed into FinOps, which is financial management of cloud spend. Spent about 8 years in that space, and so at one of the companies that I worked at, we started looking at the entire partner ecosystem, and then we really thought through like who are the true influencers of these prospective customers, and who actually cares the most about saving money on the cloud. And so we realized that probably one of the most influential uh, personas that cares about this cloud savings was venture capital or private equity companies, because these are the companies that are funding and or buying them. And all they really care about is, well, PE especially, is them saving money or spending efficiently. VC has gotten more into that. Before they would just give them money and say go scale at all costs. Now, more recently, they actually care what the companies are doing. But the private equity thing kind of just rose out of nowhere for us, and we realized that these were the folks that really cared about them spending efficiently. So think about like a value creation person or an operating partner or just anyone on these PE firms that are assigned to help these companies be efficient with their spending. And so we created a program around that. It wasn't much different than just like a standard, agreements like you have with consulting partners or resellers type of thing, but we tailored it to this PE and VC motion. And that just really helped. And what we learned was like they were actually probably, if you had to rank all the influencers of our prospective customers, they were probably the most influential because they own these companies. So that was something that created, hadn't done before, and it worked amazingly well. And it probably will be something that I continue to do as I continue on.
I love that. And I think a lot of folks are now at least aware of this strategy. But I also think a lot of folks don't know how to break into it, right? Unless you happen to be at a, tier one venture PE backed company, and then you start there and you kind of like get the model going. Maybe they have a great solution. Maybe they know that it's a great fit for, these capitalized companies that these PE firms and VCs work with. But do you have any tips for folks if they're looking to kind of dip their toe um, and feel out whether it's a good channel for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So the easiest way to do it is if you have some really good current customers that are very vocal about how much they love you, go look on Crunchbase and see who they're funded or owned by. You probably already know that a little bit, but yeah, you can see exactly who owns them, who's invested in them, the many tiers, and then if you get to know that customer well enough, they will make an intro, or you could ask them, say, "Hey, we would like to work with the other portfolio companies that are part of your family of other companies," and they'll either start making introductions to the other companies, or they'll take you right to the PE folks. Um, they're probably already talking about you if you're helping them a lot because they're reporting into these people. So if your solution is already providing a lot of value, they probably already know your name. And then all of a sudden, once you have that influence and you have that interaction, you have that entire portfolio. So for some of these large venture capital firms, could be hundreds of companies, or PE firms could be 30 or 40 really good companies. Then you can go after, and you can spend your time very focused and going after one of those because the world, I think, runs on FOMO. And so if two of these companies are having wild success in your company and this venture capital, and the head of VC for this company, and you start to prospect into the other ones or getting those introductions, people want to be a part of it. So it turns this giant sort of pool of what you're, fishing for into this very small pond that you can just sort of pick and choose who you want to work with from.
I love that. And obviously
Yeah.
predicated on having a good product that drives positive results for the
That's
customer.
the
But
thing. Yeah. So I guess in summary, you kinda have to have that, like, the best way to start is you have to have that win with the customer. You could go cold into these VC or PEs, and if you get a meeting, you can say, "Here's how we can help you do this, this, and this." It's all about efficiency. It doesn't necessarily have to be a specific dollar efficiency. I mean, it ultimately turns into that. But it could just be, like, productivity or, like, what you're doing for the product that's making it more efficient. But what they're gonna tell you is they're gonna say, "Alright, go prove it. Go get a win. Like, go here. We know that here's they could best case scenario make an introduction, say, here's portfolio company A, they're struggling with this exact problem. Go talk to them. Go get a win. But if you can find your current customers that and you have that win that are funded by them, going upstream and then cross pollinating against the other portfolio companies is the way to go. So
I love that.
yeah,
Awesome. That's a great one too, because no one
yeah,
no one that has been on the pod yet has mentioned that one. So I'm really glad you brought it up. Awesome. Okay. Let's go on the other side. I know it's going to be hard to choose just one, as it is for many. But what is something you tried that you had all of the highest hopes for as a strategy, and it just blew up in your face, and it was a really valuable learning for you?
yeah. I would say it was a combination of just not really having an ideal partner profile while also deciding to try to build a services program as well, alongside of that. And so that really, really, kind of bogged me down at one of the companies that I worked at where there was a lot of service. It's a very popular company. There was, complex product. There was services opportunities. And so we signed every partner under the sun while trying to start a services business. And so that was very challenging because it's hard to sort of forecast or like let these partners know when our potential, service is going to be available to kick to them. And then when they had projects bringing to us, making sure that it was sort of like qualified and we were QAing what they were actually doing with them, while also not that we didn't vet them, but also we didn't take like the multiple steps to really think, is this really an ideal partner for us? Like, and why do we sign them? It was just like, let's go scale this program. Let's sign up every partner and there's a services option for it. And without, yeah, really thinking about it, I guess as deeply as we should have, it just blew up into a lot of busy work that ended up with poor results, potentially unhappy customers, and a program where people really weren't in love with us. So that was a bad one.
Yeah, it's a good way to burn resources.
Yeah, I would say if you're gonna do services, focus on services. If you're gonna do product, stick it with product. The combination of the two, at least in my experience, has not worked that well.
or at least at the same time.
At the same time, exactly. That's what I mean. Yeah,
Yeah,
pick one or the other. Yeah,
right. No,
totally.
that's a great call out.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I mean, that one's very self-explanatory, I think.
Yes.
So then last but not least, what are a few kind of unlocks that, you know, you just wish you knew earlier in your partnerships career?
Yeah, the first one that came to mind sounds dumb of me because I didn't do it, but like talk to the customers, like even as you're like maybe interviewing for the partner gig, if you can, like go try to talk to some current customers. One, to see if they love the product. Two, who are their influential partners around them? Is it someone that did their cloud migration? Is it someone that's doing software services for them? Is it a PE or VC company? Like really understanding who are the most influential potential partners that are surrounding them. Is it just like the network like loves them and they can refer you business? So actually going to the customer first, not thinking like, oh, what partners can we sign? Going to the customers first or prospects first and seeing like who do they actually like care about, who's influential to their business, and then starting there instead of just like thinking about, well, we're X type of company, we're gonna go after Y type of partner. So so that's one big thing. And then I guess sort of like the second sort of challenging thing um is understanding the time it takes to do everything and then being able to communicate that with leadership during the interview, right after the interview, and then every subsequent conversation I'm going to have with leadership. I'm just like, how long does this actually take to do?
Yeah, I mean, I want to unpack both of those a little bit.
Yeah.
The customer piece, I mean, I would not say you were dumb. I think,
Yeah.
most partner people don't naturally think of that, right? Nobody comes into the job with the CEO or whoever, CRO, saying like, "Go spend some time getting to know our customers and their needs and their ecosystem and their pain points." You and I both now know after years that that's the absolutely best way to start, and it opens up it answers so many questions for you, and opens up so many opportunities. But if I hadn't had my first VP of partnerships telling me that that's a good way to go about it, I don't think I ever would have known. And most partner leaders I talk to, they just don't realize that the absolute just kind of fountain of information and opportunity it is to talk to your customers. It'll just save you so much time and it'll open up so much opportunity. So I think that that's one that cannot be overstated. But then the other
Yep.
one is just the expectation setting. I mean,
Expectation. Yeah.
I think you've been, based on what I know about your career, you've been in places that were very supportive. You've been in places that it was a bit more of an uphill battle. Um, and I think that, it just one of those things that it's tough because it's not only something you need to do early on, but it's something you need to kind of like continuously rinse and repeat because your executives have so much going on. They will very quickly forget what you discussed with them and the expectations that you set, and then they'll just make it up, right?
Yeah. No, totally. I think, typically if it's a company's really trying to put you through the ringer, which they should, you're going to present some sort of like 30, 60, 90-day plan during the interview process, which then you can, take that. And then once you actually get to know the business a little bit, update that. I think just like doing that on your leadership calls, whether it's weekly or monthly, referring back to the same thing you showed them on that interview. So that way, if they're like, where's all this stuff? And you say, well, based on the plan that we talked about the last 3 months, we're actually a little ahead of schedule and just keep referring back to that to remind them. Obviously, they want it to go quicker, and you're going to do whatever you can to make it go quicker. But just making sure that you're not resetting expectations, but just reaffirming like what the actual goalposts are, so they're not continuously moved, which they're probably going to get moved a little bit anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but at least they have some goalpost, right? I think a lot of folks go into this and they keep it very squishy, and the executive team if you're not setting the goalpost, they're gonna set it themselves. There's always a goalpost, right? Someone has to set it. So I think that's a really good call out. And then one more question, just because this isn't something I've done before, but I really have just always been very impressed with the scale of contribution that you've been able to drive in your
Yeah.
programs. Is there any one thing or anything specifically that you would call out that has allowed you to get your programs up to that level of contribution, right? Because the average we're talking, most partner programs are somewhere between 15 and 30% of top line, but you have consistently gotten your programs well over 50%, driving well over 50% of a business's top line. Is there anything specific that you attribute that to?
I think it's being I think it's being thoughtful about the partners that you're gonna work with from the jump instead of just saying, "Oh, this reseller, this dusty old playbook that worked 10 years ago is gonna work here." And you kinda just like so just having the mindset that you need to completely rethink. You have experience, but like, just like completely rethink it when you're going to a new company, even if it's in like a similar area. So just really think about the partners that are going to matter and then lean into them and then don't divert from that. So like take that extra time and really lean into that. So um, even if it's a similar industry, there might be a totally different type of partner that you didn't think about that you can go after. So spend the time to think about that, like really look at the data. And then the one that you're referring to, we're scaled quite a bit. We were so data driven. And I was not like the most data driven person, I guess you could say. I wasn't ads focused. My boss it was probably the most growth that I've had. This is somewhat recently. So it's not like something I learned earlier in the day. Like he was so obsessive about the data and about how this was contributing to sales. And so it was easily translatable up the chain into the leadership that every move that we make and why we did everything was backed by data. I think that contributed to a lot and made me a better professional, allowed to like scale more and make more investments into that. So yeah,
Yeah.
those two things.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Obviously, I'm a huge, huge data nerd, and I'll talk about that incessantly. But I think that really is ultimately the only way to scale because data is the only way to figure out like what's working, what's not working, and why. And then obviously from there, you can iterate and double down on the things that are working. Otherwise, you're just kind of seeing, just a part of the story and you can't really duplicate something that you don't fully understand.
Yeah. So what about you, Greg? So flipping it on you for a little bit. So obviously, like I've been following your path and yours path, and the cool thing is you built this out of the pain that you had when you were a partner leader in the wild. I mean, we were just on the call today. We're both huffing and puffing. We got 18 calls a day or something like that, and it's like, how do you like stay focused on the mission like you kind of had before, as far as like building this for people like me and staying in tune with like what we need in the ever changing environment. Like, how are you staying customer obsessed in this sort of like fast paced startup growth?
Yeah, it's honestly looking at the outcomes is a big one for us. Like as much as we want to build cool stuff that sounds nice,
Yeah.
we're just constantly like asking our customers like, is this driving value? Like, is this helping you be more successful? Because at the end of the day, if it doesn't make dollars and cents, like no one's going to pay for it. No one's going to buy it. Partnerships has a hard enough time getting budget for anything, if there's not positive ROI. And I think that that's honestly one of the big reasons why PRMs and portals as a concept never really gained big market traction. Less than 25% of companies that could be using one are using one. And it's because they never thought about ROI, right? It gave you a place to put things. And when people had tons of money to buy tools, they were like, okay, cool, sure, you can have something. But now it has to actually drive dollars and cents. It has to have positive ROI. So even though there's just so many pain points and challenges and complexities to partnerships. And so we're still working on solving what I believe to be some very foundational ones. But everything we build, I really challenge our team to think like, hey, is this going to be an unlock for the partnerships team, right? Is this going to be some sort of an operational unlock where they now suddenly have a lot of time back in their day to go spend on higher value activities? Is this somehow going to really change the partner experience and improve partner engagement and therefore really allow you to get more value out of each relationship? Or to the data point, is this going to provide some additional data that will then be actionable for the partnerships managers or the executives or the people they report to really again understand what's working and what's not. And that's kind of the three lenses through which we look at it. Because otherwise I think, what can happen is what happened with a lot of these PRMs. They just got a mile wide and an inch deep, and they just threw so much stuff in there that someone could theoretically use. They lost sight of the fact that it's not about the feature, it's not about the workflow, it's about the outcome.
Yep.
So that's
True.
that's
Yeah.
something that I
That's great.
challenge ourselves with, and it's hard. I'll be honest, it's hard because people ask for
Yeah.
a lot of stuff, and not all of it is high value.
Yep. Totally. That's awesome.
No. Yeah. No, I mean, thanks for asking. I no
Yeah.
one's ever really asked me that. But Joe, always a pleasure, my friend. Always good to
Yeah.
see you.
Same. Of course.
We'll have to do this again, but thank you for taking the time and sharing some of
Love it.
your wisdom with the audience.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, everybody, and see you soon.
Also, brother, chat soon.
See you. Bye.